If I knew these things when I first started Amazon FBA, I could have scaled 10 times faster. If you're new to the channel and don't know who I am, my name is Hisham. Everybody calls me Hish. I'm a full-time Amazon FBA seller at 19 years old, and I've been selling on Amazon for about 2 years now, and I've came a pretty long way. I mean, my first year in business, of course, it was all struggles and trials and tribulations. But then fast forward a year and a half later, and almost 2 years later, I've been able to grab my own warehouse, buy my dream car at 19 years old, and I've been able to do over 6 figures in revenue in a single month in my business. And the key takeaways I really want to cover in today's video are all the mistakes to avoid, and really all the mental battles that comes with running and starting a business at such a young age with so much pressure on myself. I started Amazon FBA about 2 years ago, right after I graduated high school. And one thing about me that you may or may not know if you're new to the channel is I'm a very big time athlete. I mean, for all my life, basketball was literally my entire life. That's all I played. I trained every single day. Me and one of my really good friends, Aaron, who's currently about to go play collegiate Division I basketball, which is insane. Good for him. Really great kid, by the way. We used to go at it every single day, making each other better, grinding, going hard, and just really putting ourselves in positions to really grow and challenge ourselves. And it sucks to say, I really held myself back when it comes to letting myself really blossom and grow. I just never had that belief. Now, after high school was done, I had to make a decision of what I wanted to do with my life. Now, of course, being an athlete, you have that competitive drive, you have that willingness to want to grow and learn and compete, and I just couldn't see myself stuck in a classroom abiding by rules, and it just didn't feel natural to me. And I knew that there had to have been something out there that would be the perfect fit for me to be able to blossom and really push myself and strive to grow and not be capped out by someone telling me what to do. So after about 3 weeks of college, I figured out that it really wasn't for me, and I decided to go all in on a business. Now, of course, I looked through all the private label, the drop shipping, you name it. I've looked at wholesale real estate. I've looked at every business model you could possibly think of. Now, of course, they all work. I'm not knocking anything at all in this video. Everything works. But one thing I did not realize at the time was everything at once doesn't work. For example, I was doing like 3 things at once. I was doing drop shipping, I was doing Amazon, I was doing wholesale real estate, I was doing stocks. And again, mind you, all of these things work. I'm not dissing any of these things, but again, doing everything at once is really going to hold yourself back from really getting good at that one thing. And after being stagnant for like my first month of not really growing in any of those categories, I finally realized that, Hish, I need to lock in and you need to focus on one thing, because you're not going to grow everything at once. You need to master one thing. So once I finally understood that, I decided to go all in on Amazon FBA just because it made the most sense to me. The drop shipping, the wholesale real estate, all that stuff is great and it works, but Amazon FBA just made the most sense to me. I'm selling on the biggest platform in the world, and I'm buying brand name products where I don't have to market or I don't have to do any of that stuff. And that just really clicked with me because I understood that it's a hustle business, and I know as a former full-time basketball player, I knew if I just transitioned my work ethic from basketball into Amazon, that I could definitely make this thing work out. And of course, when I first started, I sucked. Matter of fact, I sucked so bad that I was questioning if this was even for me. Why are you wasting your time on this computer sourcing inventory that you're not even gonna find profitably? And time after time, hours after hours, I just couldn't get anywhere. And that fear when you're doing something for so long and you're not seeing any progress at all, that I don't know how to explain that feeling. It's just that gut-wrenching feeling, knowing that, you feel like you're behind, you feel like it's not for you. And I felt just like that. But I also knew that it was either let that hold me back and let that stop me from continuously putting in effort and then go back to the same old lifestyle of, going to school, being, going the traditional route, in which I hated. Nothing against it at all, but that just wasn't for me. Or I can take it in, I can accept failure, and I can realize that this is just another step towards growth. And so once I accepted that failure is part of the game, I decided to play things smart, and I decided to invest into a mentor and into tons of mentorships, courses, and all that good stuff. And once I accepted the fact that failure was inevitable and that this is another step towards growth, I decided to continuously put in the work, and this time work smarter. So I decided to invest into mentorships and courses, and magically, as I got the right knowledge and put in the correct work, I've been able to see a lot of progress after that, which I'll discuss more towards the end of the video. But one thing I really took into consideration to just keep pushing forward was I was working 2 jobs at the time. I was working at T-Mobile and I was working at a fast food delivery job. Now, mind you, working those 2 jobs while trying to fund a business is not easy. But one thing I remember is going to work every single day, and I would see older people like in their late 50s and early, maybe their late 40s even, working minimum wage jobs just like 18-year-old Hish was. And I'm just thinking to myself, how are people working for their entire lives off of such a small minimum wage job to support their full-grown families? And to be completely honest with you, that scared the shit out of me. Seeing grown men and women working the same job as me put some sort of fire in me to make sure that my age, when I get to that point, when I have a family, that my family is taken care of, I have the time, I have everything set by then. And just the fear of failure and the fear of complacency and mediocrity really just stuck within my head. And from that point on, I knew that if I was gonna stop and if I wasn't gonna continuously progress, I was gonna end up just like that. And I'm telling you right now, nothing put more fear in my entire life than the fear of not having the freedom that I want, not having the goals and the desires and the life and the ambition to attack these things. Nothing really put me more in a state of fear than that. And that is when I decided that I can't be motivated. I have to be disciplined. And as I begin to put in the work every single day, day in, day out, I'm not gonna lie, I really underestimated the work that was involved when first starting this business. Too many guys think they're gonna come in this with a bunch of money set aside and just dump it all in and make their money back just like that. And although I wish that was the case, unfortunately, it could not be further from the truth just yet. Because when you're first starting out, you have to test out products, you have to see what works for you. You have to make sure that, your price is not going to tank. You have to take a lot of things into account. And one of the lessons that I wish I would have known is that you have to start small. And what I mean by that is no matter how much capital you have, no matter how much leverage you have, you need to start small and you need to take incremental steps to get to these bigger goals. I remember going hundreds of units deep on a singular product to just sit on it for the next 4 months. And you have to think, as an 18-year-old kid having about $5,000 to $6,000 stuck in one product really stung. And I've seen very similar mistakes happen with some of my students. For example, Jason, I remember when he first started selling on Amazon, he was stuck on hundreds of a singular product, not knowing what to do. But once I helped Jason learn that he has to implement all of his test buys first to make sure that the products actually sell and they have velocity to them, that's when you can double down on your products. Now, after implicating that back into his business, Jason began to see actual progress. He saw sales come through, and that's where he began to double down and then go deep on those products to where now he's actually seeing consistent income. Because the last thing you want to do is have a product where you're stuck on and you can't move it at all. And that's really one of the things I would say is really important is in the beginning, you don't want to go deep on products. You want to make sure you can cast your net wide on multiple different variations, different products, so that you can really get the best proof of concept and see what really works for your business. Now, another thing that I've had to learn, unfortunately, tragically, is that when hopping on certain listings, I was really underestimating competition. For example, once I realized that the easier it is to find a product, the more competitive it's going to be. Because think about it, if you're sourcing inventory really, really easily with hardly any discounts at all, with hardly any, extra sourcing strategies that, you might have accumulated over time, the easier it is for other sellers to see that exact same product. And now competition's rising, saturation's increasing, and pricing is going down. And the reason why I bring this up is because in the beginning, I would buy tons of products to where it was profitable simply just off buying it, not even leveraging any other discounting strategies, not even leveraging any other deals, not leveraging anything at all but the price itself. And because I could simply just buy it and sell it, it made it that much more accessible to every other seller on the market. So make sure you're not underestimating your competition. Make sure you're understanding that the harder it is to find a product, the more profitable and the more in favor it is going to be for you. And that kind of leads me into the next point, is understanding the softwares. Now, just like anything else you do in life, it takes practice. Now, ignorant and stubborn Hish in the beginning thought I didn't need much help. I could do this on my own. And of course, that's where I was dramatically wrong. I thought I could, look at all the softwares myself and figure it out. And time after time of trying to figure it out on my own without any help, I was very quickly humbled. Because for some reason, everything that I was selling was either tanking, competition was rising, or just wasn't selling. And if that's you, I've been there. And if that's not you yet, here's how to avoid it. You need to understand the softwares to a T. I remember Nau, for example, he's one of my other students. He ended up doing $20,000 in the second month in revenue. And I remember when he first joined. And I'm telling you guys right now, after Nau was able to see all the live strategy calls as far as leveraging the softwares, understanding what the source, that's when he realized, just like Jason, making test buys, getting your proof of concept from actually making sales is the best way to actually learn the softwares. Well, yeah, you probably are, because you just missed after studying for hours and you're probably thinking, Well, I just studied for hours. How am I missing? Compared to the guy that starts right next to the basketball hoop, is taking his form shots and begins to slowly creep back and back and back all the way to the 3-point line. And now he's making splashes all the way from deep. And the whole point of this analogy is to understand that you need to actually start. And the reason why this analogy is actually relevant is because once now we begin to actually make his test buys and see the proof of concept with actual sales coming in, that's when he got a lot more comfortable with the softwares. And that's how magically his next month he made almost $10,000 profit. So valuing the softwares is very, very important. And another key takeaway to take from that, which would have also helped me scale a lot faster, and probably a lot of my other students and just a lot of people in general, is actually starting. You see, too many guys are going to be stuck behind a screen thinking, oh, I should start, or, let me just get some more information. You have to understand that the best way to learn is just to throw yourself in the fire. And I know it sounds brutal, it sounds crazy, but I'm telling you right now, the best way to learn is to literally put yourself into the actual action of it, doing it, sucking at it, failing at it, and then growing and learning from it. And of course, work smart, not harder. Of course, getting the right guidance. Of course, getting the right help in the meantime of it. But all in all, just starting is what you need to do. Because staying behind a screen, not doing anything at all, is as equally progressive as someone who has literally not even started to watch any videos because no action is being done. So I'm telling you, you need to start ASAP. And another key takeaway to take from that is to acknowledge that you need to manage your financials as much as possible. Because one thing I did in the beginning was, sure, once I got the softwares down, everything was great. I was starting to make purchases, but I also ran into the issue of overstocking on a lot of my products. And the reason being is because I thought I was so mastered by the concepts of it that I could just buy 100, 200, 300 units right away. Well, I can tell you right now, sure, they sold through, but how long did that take? It took maybe 2-3 months to sell through 200-300 units. When instead of buying 200-300 units on one product, I should have been diversifying through different types of products and different listings, which if you think about it, are different sales channels. And different sales channels means more velocity. So having different sales channels and having multiple listings to be sold on increased the speed and the cash flow back in my business so I could make more money and reinvest it into more profitable products. And that ties right into reinvesting all your profits. I want to tell you guys right now, Amazon is a volume and a very capital intensive game. And the key takeaway is if you want to grow faster, I recommend you to reinvest almost everything in the beginning. Too many people want to come in this and say, you know what, I'm gonna start Amazon, I'm gonna get rich off of it, and I'm gonna use all the profits and live off of that. Now, I'm not saying that can be a future realistic plan because it most definitely can. But in the beginning, you have to look at Amazon as a seed. You have to water, feed that seed. You can't eat fruit from a seed that hasn't even grown yet. And that's why it's so important to reinvest all of your profits back in the business in the beginning, because that's the most efficient and the most profitable way you're going to grow the entire operation. And one thing through all this that I was also understanding is business is more than just business. And what I mean by that is when people think of business, they really just think of money. And yes, don't get me wrong, that's a big factor of business. And how do you think you're actually going to even grow a business and really scale a business? Well, it all starts with you. And I'm telling you right now, business is a lot more than just money. It is a life lesson. Because when I first started, my life was a total mess. I had no idea how to balance money, time, energy, personal life. I did not know how to balance any of that. And I would literally see myself crumbling into a state to where I would get anxious. I would be like, what is wrong with me? Why am I stuck? Why am I feeling this way when in reality I should be feeling happy that I'm running a business? And yes, I was scaling. Yes, I was seeing progress, but a part of me still felt like I didn't have a life. And that's why you need to understand that you have to have balance in your life. If you want to run a business, it's only going to run as much as you run. Meaning if you're going to be tired and if you're going to come into business and you're going to come into your work every single day with some sort of chip on your shoulder, some sort of issues that you're dealing with, lingering with you, your business is going to follow along that same path and you're going to go on a downward spiral. You need to manage your time efficiently. And to better guide you, it's really important to have consistency, but not burning out. Meaning put in the work, put in the efforts, and have a set schedule of when it's strictly work time and when it's time for you to relax, because you're just like a battery. Eventually you're gonna burn out and you're gonna run out of energy. And when you do run out of that energy, that's fine. Just use that time you have to yourself to recuperate, to reinstate yourself back into a more positive energy in a cycle to where you can refreshen up and the next day you're right back at it. And now that we're kind of in the state of mentality, one thing you're gonna have to overcome is self-doubt and limiting beliefs. There have been plenty of times to where I didn't know if I was even gonna make this a profitable business, to where, I'm seeing these success stories online. I'm seeing all of this happening in real time to other people. Why isn't it happening to me just yet? And that's why I say comparison is a thief of joy, but comparison is also the getaway to success. Now, there's a very, very in between point that you have to touch up on, because the last thing you want to do is compare yourself and let that push you down. And yes, that's exactly what I was doing. I was seeing other people absolutely killing it, crushing it, and I was thinking like, is this not for me at the end of the day? But instead, what I should have been thinking was, okay, these guys are clearly doing it. That means I could do the exact same thing, if not better. That's where my business went from here to here. Because yes, those obstacles are going to come. It's inevitable. Those trials, those times where you're burnt out, those times where you're not finding anything profitable and you're having a hard time sourcing, that's gonna come. But depending on how you react to those negative outputs is going to determine your success in this business. So take on the stress, take it all in. Just understand that it's a part of the journey. If all your journey is going to be is rainbows, sunshines, and just an easy story, where are you really going to progress? Because if that's the case, there's nothing to really progress from. Everything's easy, everything's so fun. That's why that's not how business runs. And in business, you're always starting at the bottom. You have to constantly fix problems, which are going to propel you every single day. And that also leads to when money and profits are not coming in, that's when you need to go harder than ever. Because don't get me wrong, yes, it sucks to be able to see that, hey, I'm not making $1. Hey, I'm not making a dime right now. Or I actually just lost money. And that's okay, because you have to understand again that these are all mistakes for you to learn and grow from. There's a reason why most businesses don't even see profits within their first year in business. Now, that's not the case with this at all, because the overhead in Amazon is obviously not nearly as large as a brick and mortar business where it requires a lot more, right, overhead. But the point is that not seeing profits is totally okay, because you are just starting out. You have to understand Amazon is a compounding game. And that's why I say starting small, slowly growing, slowly seeing success, slowly seeing progress every single day. That's where you lead to a bigger and a more sustainable business, is because you've actually taken the roadway up. You didn't jump from here to here, right? Because most times when people come into this and they dump a bunch of money into a product and maybe they get lucky or maybe they see some profits, that's not going to last very long. You see, you're currently going through a phase where you're learning through all of these tiny little obstacles to the point where once you get to that point where you scale so much, you've already failed so many times to where this is nothing new to you. You know exactly how to scale. You know exactly what to avoid. Embrace the hardships, embrace the stress. It's all part of the journey. So be patient. Understand that when profits are not coming in, that's totally fine. All that means is you're still growing, you're still learning, and that eventually time will tell, and that's where you'll begin to see profits rolling. You'll begin to reinvest your profits. You'll begin to scale. Just take it step by step. And when inventory isn't selling or you're not seeing progress, always try to find a solution. And one of the biggest solutions that I've used when it comes to this business is using multiple sales channels. Right now, of course, we're Amazon sellers. We're here to sell on Amazon. But when something doesn't go as planned and something happens and you can't find and you can't sell a product anymore the way you thought you could have sold it, that's where you have to understand, okay, that's okay. Now I need to figure out how I can get rid of this inventory and get my money back, or at least get some of it back. And what I mean by that is, number one, first and foremost, see if you can return the product. If you can return and get your money back, by all means, please do so. But let's say you can't, worst case scenario, that's where you have a few options. Number one, you drop your prices slightly, take a little bit of the loss so you can get your money back and reinvest into better products, or keep your pricing the same, but instead sell on multiple sales channels. Like I just said, sell on eBay, Walmart, your local Facebook marketplace. Sell anywhere and everywhere, because the longer you're stuck on that inventory, the more opportunity costs you're paying. The more opportunities on other products you could be buying and making money off of, you're stuck on and you're not getting access to because your money is currently on hold. So understand that it's not always about being attached to your profits. You have to be attached to your time as well. So never be afraid to take a little bit of a loss, because that little bit of a loss is going to help you progress a lot more had you just stuck and maybe make profits 2-3 months later, because your money could have been flipped multiple times within that time frame. And I also want to discuss how I would handle negative customer feedback, because yes, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. You're going to get hit with the customer complaints. You're going to get hit with the customer bad reviews. You're going to get hit with all these things. Now, the best way to deal with them is if it's FBM, meaning fulfilled by merchant, us as sellers are responsible for the customer service. So we have to make sure that they're taken care of. Now, if you can fix it, great. Right? If you can fix it, if you could possibly turn that 1 star to a 5 star, I've done it, it's happened, do that. And even if it requires you giving a replacement or requires you doing something that's you giving, you have to understand that it's not going to hurt you. That's only going to help you, because you've probably heard this before. The best sales is word of mouth, and it transitions perfectly into Amazon's algorithm, because if you have great reviews and everything's spot on, you're going to be more prone to making more sales. So prioritize your account health, because not prioritizing your account health is another way to get everything completely screwed, to get your account deactivated, to get your account shut down, to go through tons and tons of different struggles. That's all going to happen if you don't prioritize your account health. And of course, learn from these mistakes. If you get a bad review and you can't reverse it, that's totally fine. Just understand that you have to use that as a way to avoid for your next mistake, so you don't make the same mistake, and so that all your reviews from there on out are nothing but 5 and 4 stars. And I want to say one thing when it comes to just business in general, not even Amazon, is be a student of the game. Utilize any and every resource that you can possibly utilize to your advantage. And I mean books, and I mean podcasts, and I mean even mentors. Because I'm telling you right now, confidently, I would not be in the position that I'm in right now if it wasn't for investing in my knowledge and into myself. I've probably invested around $20,000 into different books, into different mentors, into different masterminds, all that back into myself to allow me to blossom and grow my business. So you have to understand that the products in Amazon, they're not the biggest ROI, aka return on investment. You're the biggest ROI. You're the biggest return on your investment, because you are going to grow your business just as much as you grow yourself. And I say that because having all of these resources and all this guidance has allowed me to jumpstart, and it has allowed me to bypass all of these other mistakes I would have probably went even deeper into had I not invested in myself. It's like, think about it. If you're traveling to a different country or to a different state, are you going to suffer and walk on rocks and walk on gravel and walk hundreds and even thousands of miles to your destination to save money or whatever you want to call it? Or are you going to invest into a plane ride that's going to bypass all of that stuff and get you there in a matter of hours? Now, I hope we choose the most logical option, and that's the second option. And that's because you're picking that because you understand the conveniency, and you understand that it's not all about the money. It's actually all about the conveniency and the time and the efficiency to help you grow at the end of the day. And once I realized that, investing back into myself, investing into mentors was the greatest investment I could have made, that's when my business also simultaneously jump started and went to a whole different level. And once I got these right mentors and the right guidance, that's where I began to actually make progress. That's where, I knew how to actually leverage discounts. I knew how to leverage these softwares correctly. I knew all the mistakes that I had to avoid to grow. And I want to highlight the success here because that's also important. You have to understand that all the trials and all the tribulations that I've gone through, and leveraging and investing back into myself, into my knowledge, and into my growth, it's all led to my success. And the same thing will happen to you is if you're willing to put yourself out there and invest in your knowledge and invest in yourself. And once you do that and you implicate that with action, you are going to be unstoppable. And when it comes to solutions, that's where I begin to know how to actually leverage systems, right? Build out a team of virtual assistants, build out a systemized plan to where all of my products are constantly replenished without me even being in the picture of it, right? And that's why investing in yourself is so important, because it builds habits and it builds structures and it builds ideas that you would have never came across had you never reached out and got that right guidance, right? And to kind of backtrack a little bit, that's why my business is at a point where I have a team of VAs. I have a systemized workflow where all of my purchases are rebought and replenished for the good buys that are made. And any new niches and categories that I'm looking to source can all be done without me being in the picture. And that's called automation. And that's a completely different subject, and I might make it a different video, but the main point of that is you will get so good to the point where you don't even have to be in the picture. Your business is running by itself. Your business is working for you. You're not working for your business. Your business is working for you, and that should be all of your goals. And in the end, I want to emphasize that learning from your mistakes out of this entire video is the best way to grow. And it's completely part of the process that you have to acknowledge and that you have to take into consideration. And for any beginner starting Amazon, I want to say a few things. Understand the softwares. Understand that you have to master the basics to get to the bigger things in the business. Understand that it's going to take time, it's going to take work, it's going to take a lot of effort, and understand that getting the right guidance and putting yourself in positions to grow and leveraging the resources that you have access to is the best way to actually see growth. And before buying products, focus on the research side of things. Focus on making sure that you're leveraging the softwares correctly to making sure that your buys are actually profitable. Because as you begin to do that, that's where you begin to start small and gradually begin to scale over time and time and time again. And doing all of these things while staying consistent is the best way to actually see growth. So make sure you're staying consistent, make sure you're leveraging all the softwares correctly. And after you collect all these things together, that's where you begin to actually see growth. And I'm telling you guys from a place of experience, invest in yourselves, stay consistent, and be a student of the game, because that is how you're going to grow. And if you guys got a lot of insight and a lot of value out of this video, I encourage you guys guys to subscribe to the channel and also turn the notifications on so that every time a video is dropped, you guys are automatically notified, and that's going to tell you that, hey, Hish dropped a video, I got free value to learn. And if you guys are interested in working directly with myself in helping you scale your business from A to Z as far as sourcing, having direct contact with myself, and being in a really motivated network to grow from other sellers that are absolutely killing it, I'm going to drop a link below. It's a calendar link. Feel free to book a call in the link below. You and I will hop on that call. I'll run you down through the whole process, make sure I can help you out. And if everything sounds good, I would love to see you on the inside. And when it comes to following me for more, you can check me out on Instagram at ecomhish, just like my YouTube channel. And if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to drop it in the comment section below. And let me ask you, what's one thing you wish you knew before starting? Let me know in the comments below. And I do want to say, if you were able to watch this video, the entirety of it, I really appreciate you. And I hope you're going to be that 1% that actually takes this information and implicates it into your life and your business. And I hope to see you at the top. Let's work.